Hi folks, Michael Koff here. I am making a video of my adventure to Hawaii. It was a island hopping cruise that I took with my parents back in 2011. Now, some really cool things happened on this cruise, but the most interesting thing actually happened 3 months prior to the cruise that put it all in jeopardy. And that was, I was at my volunteer duties at a performing arts center, and inadvertently I missed some steps and landed on my left leg wrong on terrazzo floor and had to be rushed to the hospital to find out that I had broken my leg bone and disintegrated a bone, and thankfully there was no tendon or muscle damage, and I had a really cool orthopedic surgeon who was able to reconnect the joint perfectly, and so that all went really well, and put 9 screws and 2 plates in, or maybe it was 12 screws and 2 plates, but he was able to fix my leg, and that took a couple of months of letting the bone harden and heal, and then I started physical therapy. Now, my physical therapist happened to be one of the physical therapists for the Dallas Cowboys. So you can imagine my physical therapy was no walk in the park. And I truly am grateful for all that they did for me. And I was able to make my cruise in Hawaii in December. And the ironic thing was, we booked our airfare through Holland America, which turned out to be a blessing because our flight was so late, we almost didn't make it on board the cruise. Because rule of thumb to abide by when you're cruising is that if you book your own airfare or your own shore excursion, if you're late, you have to find your own way to the next port to board the ship. But if you book through the cruise line, which we used Holland America, they were responsible to get you back on time or get you there on time, and if you were late, they had to wait because you booked through them. Now, with that being said, when we got to the port and boarded the ship, it was quite a relief, and it was a challenge for me being on crutches to maneuver around the ship. And we went to the 5 islands, and a really cool experience happened at one of the islands for me and my leg, but I will get to that in a little bit of time. First is we went to one of the islands, of which was Oahu, and we got to see Pearl Harbor. Now, that was very touching to see in the morning, and there was a beautiful rainbow in the sky that morning. And while we were there, you could see a submarine from World War II above the ground to see what it was looking like. And you could also see the Mighty Mo, or the Missouri, in port. It's, I believe, been turned into a museum. And we didn't take the tour of the Missouri because we had seen battleships from that age in Texas. And so we went instead to the memorial for Pearl Harbor in the Arizona. And while we were going, they have white little boxes sort of sticking up out of the water, and those are to mark Battleship Row. Now, when you get to the Arizona, you can actually see part of the Arizona sticking up at the water, and the oil really is dripping up from the Arizona into the harbor, and you can see oil in the water around the Arizona. And they have a beautiful monument to the Arizona that has a list of all the men who were trapped inside or died during the attack of Pearl Harbor. And it was very touching to be able to pay homage to them and respect to those men who died that morning, Sunday, December 7th, 1941. And it truly is a date that has lived in infamy. Now, another experience we got to have in Hawaii was going through some gardens where some famous movies like Jurassic Park, Pirates of the Caribbean were filmed. And so that was really cool to walk through and see the scenes from the movie, and also to see all the beautiful flowers and architecture around. And I gotta say, Hawaii is a very beautiful island chain. And there are actually 137 islands, I believe, in Hawaii. However, we just went to the 5 main big islands. And on one of the big islands, it might actually have been Hawaii itself, we got to see a structure where there's a telescope that looks up at the stars, and you could see the telescope and the planetarium and see the stars, which was really cool. And they have a lot of pretty designs in the flooring. And we also got a chance on one of the islands. There were some dolphins that were living in captivity, but it was a very large pool for them, and they were well taken care of. And you could feel the energy from the dolphins that they were happy to play and swim. And we actually got the chance to get in the water and play and swim with the dolphins for a little while. And so that was a really cool experience. And another experience we got was we went to a luau at Paradise Cove on one of the islands at sunset. So we got to see the sunset at the island. And we also, I got a tribal temporary tattoo on my arm, which was a really cool experience. Now, we also got to see scenes from the famous TV show Hawaii Five-0 as we were touring one of the islands, and you can see the statue for Kamehameha, the big king of Hawaii. And we also learned that there are a lot of pineapple plantations on Hawaii, but the pineapples are shipped to the States or other countries, and then they buy them and import them back in to the island to eat. So they have a weird system that Dole has set up for them, that they have to export the pineapple to import it back so they can enjoy it on the island when it's already on the island. So that was quite a weird experience. And so the really cool experience that happened with my leg was we were in the city of Maui, or island of Maui, and I was signed up to do a snuba shore excursion. Now I know some of you are laughing and saying it's pronounced scuba, but scuba is where you wear a wetsuit and an air tank on your back, and you can go in the water and swim all you want with the air tank on your back. Now, I actually did do snuba, is what they call it. It's a mix of snorkeling and scuba, where I have fins on my feet and they put the air tank on a raft on the surface of the water, and it has a hose that comes down to the mouthpiece that's in your mouth. So you wear eye goggles, a mouthpiece, and you swim as if you were doing scuba without the tank on it. That's why it's called snuba. Now, I almost didn't get to do this excursion because they announced you can't have any issues with your legs or heart to do this excursion. And a gentleman saw that I was struggling while we were free swimming, and he said, "Stick with me and I'll help you out." And I was like, this gentleman is a godsend, and I was so blessed to meet him and so grateful for his help. And he actually helped me get in the water, and we went to the bottom of the harbor in the water to where you could touch the shore and you could pick up the land and the sand in your hand at the bottom of the ocean. And it was such a cool and moving experience. And little did I realize that after I did this excursion, when I was back aboard the cruise ship and on the rest of the cruise, I never needed to use my crutches. It seemed like my connecting with the land in Hawaii helped heal my leg muscles and my mind to where I realized I did not need the crutches, that my leg was healed and was in great working order. And so that was my moving experience that has changed my life forever in Hawaii, that I'm so grateful for, beyond the swimming with the dolphins and everything else that I got to experience. And I know some of you may not be able to make it to Hawaii, so I hope seeing it through the lens of my camera helps you to experience Hawaii and feel like you've been there. And those of you who can make it to Hawaii, I hope you take the chance and take the journey and go and experience it for yourself. As always, fans, please click the like and subscribe button to follow along with my journey and for any updates that may come up. And so without further ado, I present a picturesque view of Hawaii. Blessings to you all. Enjoy.